Hey, welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Shows. Today we have on Don Mancuso. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. You have a newer project out. I want to talk about that. And you've done a lot of solo stuff, and you have some other projects we were talking about prior to this. Let's talk a little bit about you though, as a player and a guitar player, and you've been playing for many years with many great people. And one of the things in your bio you talk about is playing with a good start would be Lou Graham because people would be aware of that name, you know.
Yeah, that was the initial catalyst. I mean, after we worked together in Black Sheep, did the we were the first American act signed to Chrysalis Records for about a minute. We put out a single, and it only hit in Knoxville, Tennessee, so they dropped us. We went to Capitol. We did two albums on Capitol, and basically the band broke up in a nutshell over we were on tour, I think at the time with Kiss on the Alive tour, and our truck had flipped over for the second or third time. And unfortunately our management didn't keep the insurance on the gear, so when we went to replace our stuff, they told us sorry. And when they
What?
went, yeah, they said, we're sorry, we couldn't afford to really pay for the insurance. It went up too high with the other two accidents. So we said, okay, well, we're sorry, we can't do the third album, we're breaking up.
It's insane. Besides
Yeah,
insurance, what was a different driver? I mean, geez, two flip overs there.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you know how the weather
Yeah,
gets up
yeah.
north. It's terrible. I mean, they were on a flat surface, but we're driving like at that point through the night, day after day. These guys aren't sleeping.
Oh, I
Wasn't
know.
really anybody's fault or anything, but so we all went our separate ways. I think Lou went on welfare for a couple weeks and then found a job as a small appliance delivery man. And I was riding on the back of a garbage truck going, I got to go back to school and find a backup to this, which I inevitably did, but I stayed with music.
Yep.
And the rest was history. Mick had been approaching Lou since Black Sheep was together, and he kept saying no, knowing what the story was with getting backing and making it work and make money if you have the good material. And finally, Mick came up with it, and I think it was about a year after Black Sheep broke up. They were out as Trigger or whatever the first name was,
Yeah.
and the rest was history. And that kind of catapulted me into a position where I actually had fans that were looking back on Lou's career and going, "Who's this guy?" And so I started recording many things with many people and myself.
Which is exciting as an artist to be able to do that. I mean, because you could have gone to obscurity. You
Oh
could have had
yeah,
the accidents could have annihilated you because most of those crazy, especially back then. I mean, not things are much better, but accidents destroyed bands, people lost lives. I mean, so considering that you were in a band with Lou Graham and things fell apart that way, you really had a lot of good luck to keep propelling you, you know?
yeah. It was good timing and luck and a lot of hard work. I mean, it doesn't. All my solo albums and the albums with 50 different artists and Lou's Christian rock album, they didn't come without a lot of work.
Well, and that's the thing, and I talk about this lately, and one of the things that have propelled the show is the artists and the real hard work that you have to do and the not rock star money, the life, the real living, the two jobs, the three jobs, the sacrifices, the bands aren't killing you for the price of the shirts. They're really scraping by. And like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the people really need to stop being like, oh, $4 for a shirt. Oh, bands eating caviar on the bus. No, not really,
Or $5 cover to go see a band. I mean, when was the
right. That's
what's the
insane.
it hasn't changed since 1981.
I pay 20. Like you go see a band that takes their time every day after work. If they have to work to pay their bills because they're not doing or whatever they're doing to take that kind of time and to practice their craft. It's still an art. Just like it is that people do I don't need to pay for that photo. I can print it up on my computer and frame it.
Yeah, right.
The value of art is happening just like with NASA. Like everything else, like people feel like they can do it. Like I do recording school and I got out. All of a sudden, everyone's like the market changed. Just remember when Seattle, everyone's like, oh, Seattle, everything drops out.
Yeah.
Well, everything changed for rock. And then like I came out of the studio, and also everyone had like a laptop. They're like, I could do studio recording. You're like, no, you can't. Like everyone, once they have an opportunity to do some kind of what they think it is, they take away the value. And rock
Yep.
is one of the biggest art forms that has consistently, I think from the 70s up, has taken a beating when people complain about the value of investing back in the artists.
Yep. Definitely.
That was with that. You also did some stuff with Lou and solo stuff, blah blah blah. But moving forward, you approached me, and your manager had reached out to me. Really good album. Yeah, history, and being an artist like you've been around, and it's a good thing. It's like and say the word legacy always feels like it's like, oh, like you're gonna see like, and this is not a dig, like 50 shot an hour review or something, which is not a dig. Generationally, it feels like it's a dig. It's not. Legacy to me is like something that is respected and you've earned. When you've had this time in the industry, you've worked with a lot of people, and you got a lot of respect, and you know the artists, and you try different versions of bands, and sometimes it's great. And then every now and then you put like the next level of ingredient, and all of a sudden it's like spectacular, you know. And I think you had the right bunch of ingredients on this album that Lips Turn Blue.
Oh yeah.
From the you know, unfortunately you lost your singer Phil. We can talk about that. All the musicians, the recording is really high quality. You know,
Yeah.
the artwork, the website, like it's like right out of the gate, tight. But it's only been that way because you wanted, because you've been practicing doing this for so long. Not amateur hour.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And the people involved were all really, really believed in it and wanted to make it the best it could be.
Can we talk about the songwriting prior to this for this album? I know you guys are going to be doing other stuff, but like,
Mm.
where did the song? Was it mostly you? And then, because I don't have the songwriting credits in front of me, I usually like to go deep on it, but I don't. Unfortunately, I
Yeah,
apologize.
in a nutshell, it was primarily up to about maybe a third of the way through this album. It was just Phil and I.
Mhm.
Phil and I were the main writers, and other people would contribute ideas or suggestions, but they really didn't write any of the music. And that was up until we got our new keyboard player, Eric Bieber.
Mhm. Also, when you advertise a band, make sure you do Eric Small and Bieber Big. Might get a couple extra fans in there.
That's
Legend on Bieber, Eric Bieber.
that I'm sure Eric would go right along with that. Anything that will help this project get out
You
there.
get 3 extra people in there, you win. You have a Bieber in the band. I'm not gonna have to play that one up.
Yeah, no, and he's an amazing keyboard player, great writer. I mean, he brought things to the table that him and Phil, or him and Phil and I, or whoever worked on, that turned out to be really incredible songs. He writes more of the kind of the middle of the road and the really great ballad stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
I would think like the AOR. I'm thinking like, I hate I say comparing, but I'm saying if fans are
right.
listening that don't know what's what's your swim lane, what's your silo, right? Is that the buzzwords of the day those kids use? I would say it's like literally like getting the newest Journey album, like the quality of musicianship. I would say if you're into rock, and the Valentine album, which is closely related, if you know the members of the band, two versions of Journey. It's great rock guitar, clean keyboard, piano, rock keyboard though. Um,
Yeah, power.
Vocals strong, powerful, clean vocals, strong love songs. You're gonna know the song by the end of it. You're not reinventing the wheel. It's a top down type of music, right? Got some schmoozy love songs in there for your special one.
Yeah, ones that'll make you cry,
Right, right, and that's
ones that'll make you laugh and drive down the road fast.
yeah,
We've always tried to do a good balance of that. And we've always kind of stayed away from more of the ballads, but for this album with
Phil.
Phil's situation and things like that, we had to make room for more heart wrenching and you know
Well, it's a beautiful
light.
timestamp that'll say a lot. You know what I'm saying? It shows well. And I was saying to you earlier, it's also a legacy piece for him to
Mhm.
remember him by. Like, talk about having probably some of your best work out there,
Oh yeah,
to be
yeah.
proud of. I mean,
Definitely,
And
definitely
as an
hit.
artist, you want that. I mean, to know that you did something.
Yeah. When you know you're done, you're going to put out your best effort.
It's funny because I mean, I've listened to a lot of rock. It sounds it's totally seasoned professionals that know how to write a good song, know how to write a good hook. You know, there's no like, oh, it's almost there. You got to turn it a little bit with a producer. It feels like each song you knew exactly what you needed.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
in the kitchen.
Yep.
But people that aren't 100% aware, you're working with Phil and you're friends with Phil, and Phil's been in many bands for many years. And I don't know, you guys have been Phil for, I can't even tell you how many years, like decades, even. I don't know.
30 years.
Right. So a good part of your life. I mean, you guys are best friends also. So you don't lost a singer, talented musician of the band, but a best friend. So,
Oh yeah, just like brother, family member. I just went to his mom's for Mother's Day to deliver
oh,
her flowers.
you always have to do that to people. People need to remember that if anybody ever passes and their child, you always need to make sure if their spouse goes, you make sure you always make sure you remember that person and take care of them if that person is missing and keep it going. It's already, they
Yeah.
already have that hole in their life, but make sure they don't have that extra hole if you can do it.
Yep. It definitely helps.
It is. But once you had this beautiful album out from a commercial point, because then you have two mindsets. You're like, I lost a friend, but you've also got a lot invested into people and there's a career. That's the thing that happens. What do you do with this album? You put it out there, but you don't have the same singer anymore. Music world is already topsy turvy because it's just fickle and topsy turvy all the time.
Yeah.
It puts you in a weird spot. Um, talk about you actually had a change in the band.
Um, I'm not really sure on that one what what the answer would be.
Well, no, you have a singer coming in that's going to work with you, and
Right. It
to
was a
keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
looking forward. That was a blessing because I really losing Phil was like devastating, and I figured we would just release the album, let it fly, and and kind of not move on with the band. But when we were lucky enough to find a guy that could actually do
Mhm.
most of what Phil could do, singing
Yep.
wise and musically, played sax, keyboards, and you know, a genuinely good guy with a good heart. So it was kind of like, okay, we can move on now, and we're hoping to do some dates, a tour. I haven't seen apparently the we haven't seen enough action anywhere at this point to really say, okay, we should go there. We can draw a few hundred people, or you know. So
Right.
we're kind of waiting for that to happen, and thank God for guys like you and other people that are trying to kick it into high gear, get it out to
Right.
people to make them listen to it. And hopefully we pick up enough fans over the next few months to be able to say, yeah, we
Yeah.
should go out and do like, even if
Well, you
it's
should.
just a mini tour.
E- Even if it's a tri-state tour, because I do live in Connecticut, so it would be really a hop, skip, and a jump to see you.
That's right. No, and we're lucky to live around here because we could hit 50 to 100 different really nice venues
Yeah.
with maybe another act that has a for sure draw
Hmm.
that they have, and they want to share their audience with us because it's kind of they like our music too. That's kind of how it usually works.
And it's not like I'm going to say something. I think talk about the scene here for briefly for a minute. I don't think people realize the Eastern and the New England tri-state kind of, for
Yeah.
even from Pennsylvania up to I don't know up to Vermont, which is a scene that with clubs, it's not burning. It's not like they used to be, but there's a lot of really good clubs, a lot of good fans, and sometimes, and what's really kind of neat is some like a lot of towns will do like Enfield is doing like a Fourth of July party weekend. And they always do it, and they're having like Slaughter and Vixen, and then Autograph, um, because Jimmy Bell's in that. I'm sure, like because he's like Deep Purple and like his Deeper Purple rather band, and that's a
Right.
huge draw. These
Oh
these
yeah.
greens, and there's a lot, and you have the Big E. There's a lot of festival type things that these towns hold, and you don't think about it, on the greens. It draws thousands of people,
Oh yeah.
and they're always looking for talented professional bands. We have a live thing like tonight in our area. There's live music every night, every Thursday night for X amount of weeks. It's a big crowd.
Oh yeah. We have the same type of thing here, and You would think they would want to kind of promote local bands that have
Hmm.
new product out and a story behind them, but apparently that's not how it works here. It's more political, and
I'll have to
yeah,
reach out and see who's doing the local thing around here. If I can, I'll connect you. All right.
yeah, it'd be awesome.
Because we have a local thing here. It's pretty sweet. They have, and it's the same bands every year, local bands. So to me, I'm like, New Blood would be nice. I mean, they're good, but it wouldn't hurt to have somebody else,
Yeah,
to
no,
do it.
good to have some fresh blood and people in there that can kind of change it up a little bit and make it a little bit different.
And I want people to check it out. And one of the things with my channel, if you're aware, I put the links and everything so people can go and follow. You have a couple of videos out already.
Yep,
Um,
we have three now.
three. I saw two. Is there one with a new singer now? The singer is Iggy. It's an abbreviation of his name. I can't say his name.
Actually, there's two with him. We put out a commemorative tribute video for Paul McCartney's 80th birthday
Oh, it just popped up my feed today. I didn't see it yet. So he's okay. My bad.
last Saturday, and that's the bass player who, we were actually trying to egg on and make him the lead singer
Oh,
originally.
really?
He said, "No way! I know I'm a great singer and I could probably pull it off, but I want to play bass and I want to sing and I want to be an instrumentalist." So it worked out good. And then the other one I think is Hey Bulldog. We released a video on the cover of the old
Yeah,
Beatles
I've heard
tour.
the song on the album, but I didn't see the video for it yet.
Yeah, it's a live version with
So,
Iggy and I singing it that
oh,
came
cool.
out nice. So it was one gig we did do this year for the release was at the MIM in Arizona, Musical Instrument Museum.
Hmm.
Beautiful venue. It was amazing. Spoil you rotten.
Really?
You play there and then it's like everything else is, well, it wasn't quite that, but it's okay.
The I could see you guys playing the Ridge House. Um,
Yeah.
that'd be a good gig for you guys. And it's like an hour from me here. A lot of bands play there. Um, the version that you guys did, is it the same version that you did in the album? Because you changed it up a little bit
Um,
of the Beatles song, a little more rockier, a little more chorus is
yeah,
a little bit different. It's just a little bit, nothing.
yeah,
There's no right or wrong. It's just I listened to it, so I know.
yeah.
I'm a
No,
huge Beatles fan, so I
you're probably
noticed.
one of the few that listen to it that I talk to. But yeah, we did our own version of it. I mean, we tried to do it justice so you would
Mhm.
recognize the song, but obviously we're not the Beatles, so we got to do it our own way and give it our
Right.
own twist.
Well, that's why I listened to it, because you did your own twist. You're not the Beatles. No one's the Beatles.
No, no,
So if
no
you
one.
try to be the Beatles, it doesn't work out. I mean, Oasis broke up, and Noel's doing well without it, without being the Beatles. So we don't need that. But being a rock band covering, that's a good song to cover too, because it's not. I don't think it's overplayed enough. It was a good choice of a song.
Bill and I decided when we did it the first time on one of the D Drive records, and said, "Yep, this is a cool song. We got to do this. I don't care if John says he didn't like the song after he recorded it and wrote it."
You hear that a lot of his songs, actually. He doesn't like a lot of his stuff.
Did really your bird can sing? He said the same thing. That's one of my favorite cuts out of that
Hmm.
album. Was like, "And your bird can sing." It was like a concerto of guitar and fusion into a dance type song. It's like,
And not to get sidetracked, it's the fact that they sounded like at different times. They have like five different stages, like the melodies and the bebop, 50s part, like all the different versions of bands were all so good, each of them, you know. And George Martin produced his voice so well. I think afterwards, the reverb on John's voice and some of the songs took away from me, because I think he didn't like his voice.
yeah,
You've read. So I think when he became more in control and he had the other producers solo, he could do stuff. I personally, he influenced that, where George Martin liked him cleaner and drier, and he had a good voice. I just think George Martin had this finger on the pulse, but you
yeah,
know,
yeah. No one likes their own voice, from what I hear.
well, everyone's
That's
got a complaint about it, yeah. But
yeah.
with with him, oh, your fries are ready. I don't. That was here.
My
So
phone.
with that being done, and now you have a new placement. I know it's probably hard because you have a singer. It was your friend. You kind of feel like moving on. It's like when you lose somebody or you lose a family, someone close to the family, and it's good you can move on though, and I think it's gonna be a good process for everybody. A good
Yeah, that
energy to have somebody new, and he was like a student. So it's like once again, I notice this a lot when people have a band member that leaves or comes in or not, whatever the reason is, but they get some of this somehow part of the atmosphere of that band. It's a lot more organic than
right.
doing the cattle call, which is not bad. It's just it's
Yeah.
easier to know what you got.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And knowing this guy coming in is very helpful.
Oh yeah. It was. That's what kind of made the decision for us after we heard him and felt what he was going to do in the band.
And you guys are professionals. You don't need shenanigans anymore. I mean, the model for rock is work hard. Like no one's like, I was talking to a younger band that parties, they're a little bit younger in a rock. And I said, there's nothing wrong with it. But as you
No,
notice, you get older, the other band member's a little bit older. He's like, yeah, I still party, but not as hard, you know, because the model nowadays is not to be totally wasted. You know what I mean? It's show up and practice and be polite and do a good gig and you get a lot more work. You can
that's
be a working musician if you just treat it responsible. It can be a fun job, but you still have to be a human being.
yeah. No, that's. I think that's probably more than half of the battle, as you know, being a musician. Because
Absolutely.
I mean, you can be the greatest guitarist, singer,
Mhm.
drummer, whatever in the world if you can't get along with people and work together and just know how to socialize correctly and not be messed up all the time, be accountable for what you're
Yeah.
doing, able to take criticism, work hard on fixing what needs to be broken. Those people, it doesn't matter how great they are, they get nowhere.
Yeah. And I think those are the perfect words, the accountability and criticism, you know,
Yeah,
those are the two biggest things that will make you grow. And if you're a young musician or an older musician, you're not doing these things, you need to do them, you know.
right. That's
This is
true.
why you've been able to play and be a professional musician your whole life, because these are the things you do, you know.
Yep.
Um, and I've heard this from many artists that have said that they've had some of the best artists, they'd rather have a decent musician that does everything else,
Yep.
if you're a rock star, you will get booted. And I even got talked to me and Dweezil Zappa had many discussions, and he'd start from his father. He used to say the expression, the aisle, was it the aisle or the window? Which way will your ticket be going home? You know,
Yep.
because you got a job to do. We can have fun doing it. And then, it was the same way. Like, you're not staying partying all night long. You need to do your thing and get along with people.
Yep. That's right. I mean, you can have fun along the way, but
Doing music is fun. If you love music, just doing music and creative is fun. To
it
not
is.
battle with your bandmates is the worst thing ever. It makes you want to quit music every single day.
Yeah. No, it's not worth it because if you go on the road, like, I've only been on the road really like the big way,
Right.
flying and going all over the world for maybe a couple decades. And, if after a while you feel like most of the work you're doing is traveling
Yeah.
and you only get to play an hour or two a day, and you're like, it's not what I signed on for. I want to play.
And then if the people you're with, are just late for this and not for this, it's not going to help.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy career.
But I
That's why.
think you guys are in a good spot, though. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. I think you guys are in a good spot in
Oh
this
no.
part in your life.
Yep, we are. I mean, we can basically do as we see fit and make sure, you're not out there just flailing in the wind, doing something that isn't doing you any good. You go to where people really
Want to hear you. And they,
value what
and
you
people
do.
you're with. I mean, I remember doing gigs and it'd be like just small parties and stuff. Like, and like the guitar, you show up and the guitarist is drunk. You're like, we haven't even played yet. What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
seriously? And
It's like,
then it's like, and I love traffic. And I remember like, if you're like, did you just do a 12-minute traffic jam? And it's not even like a good jam. Like,
yeah,
you're in your own world. I'm not doing this with you anymore. I quit after the gig. I quit. I want to leave the show, like the party. I don't want to be that guy and ruin it. But afterwards,
right.
I'm like, I can't do this anymore with you, because that's awful.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's just a local gig.
yeah.
I
Try
would love
doing
to see you guys
it
do
on
that.
an
Sure.
international level.
Even if you guys did like short shootout gigs around New England area and in New York and stuff,
Hmm.
started working that band because I think you got a lot going on with this band, like a lot.
Yeah, hopefully we will soon. I'm looking forward to it.
I could see you doing it a lot. I could see you being the opening for like, especially like a lot of national or like the other national acts coming through.
Oh yeah, we'd be one of the better support acts they could
Oh, yeah.
they could have that really, isn't gonna rock their boat or anything, but actually do a great job and play some music that their people can dig into and
Well, I
enjoy.
think that's it. I think you guys would be, and your manager should be listening to me, bill you guys as like a sleeper act because you're going to come in and people are like, who's this? Lips for like, and you get the picture, they have no idea.
Hmm.
But then they get the band, they're like, oh, who's this band? I want to see, whatever. And you rip into a song or two, second or third song, everyone's like, I feel familiar. I don't know the songs, but I feel familiar and I'm rocking out. Like all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
engulf them.
it is. Yeah, you're
But
just.
you got to get the breadcrumbs. You got to lure them into your gingerbread house.
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing.
So that's the first thing. So people check out this band, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. But the one last thing I want to talk about is you also said you have another other project going on because I want to talk about some of your solo stuff too. Let's.
Oh, yeah, I continue to work. I think I have two two solo albums and an EP. The last EP I did was totally instrumental. I decided I wanted to just try that route,
Yeah.
and I got lucky. I recruited a. I mean, I did a lot of the parts, guitar, bass, and you know,
Was it
people.
like the most fulfilling and also the most frustrating thing you've ever done?
No, it wasn't frustrating actually, because it's only an EP. So it was five or six tunes,
Hmm.
and I already had most of it like completed because I randomly just keep recording stuff and then trying to assemble it into a a good
A
song
collection.
flows and isn't too long drawn out.
Yep.
Something with a lot of melody and hooks, and I got lucky on that one for being my first one. And I had a few friends like Mark Schulman from Pink, who actually volunteered. He said, "Yeah," he said, "Well, I'm kind of busy, but send me the stuff." And I sent him one song, and he sends me back the drum part and goes, "You owe me this much." I'm like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Yeah, send more. I like this stuff. It's not pop."
That's like that pays itself to feel a compliment from a peer and a friend,
Oh God, from a guy
right?
that's that knowledgeable and been in the business, it was an honor. So he ended up playing on five songs, and then of course the sixth song, Foreigner called him. Their drummer broke his arm or something, so he had to go off and play with them, and he didn't have time to finish it. So I had one of the guys from the previous band, D Drive, do it
Yep.
here. But doing those, I
Where can
do
people see that? Where can people get their hands on that or listen to it?
usually at my website. If you contact me, I don't really have a record company per se. I had to get away from the record companies I was
Best
with.
thing you probably ever did.
Yeah, it was like, I'd sell 1,000 CDs and I'd get 5 cents, and it was just
Most
not
artists don't do that anymore. They literally just like you're independent, maybe a distribution deal, maybe.
yeah, yeah, that's probably all I would ever sign again. So they can contact me through my website at
Okay.
donmanso.com, and there's an email there. They can just say, yeah, send me to a site where you got all your stuff, and I'll send them there, and then they can come back
All
and
right.
order.
I'll post it up there. I just didn't know if we have like meet you behind the back of a liquor store and get a phone number to call somebody to.
No, I'll handle it legitimately. I'll even put my return address. It's insured.
I'm just harassing you. You're a very laid back guy. It's cool. And you're
Yeah.
continue on also with your stuff, please. I'm sorry. We just want to make sure people are aware because we get sucked into this conversation and then
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
like, "You talked about
No,
five different bands. I don't know where to get them, Sean." So I'm
and
venting.
this is important. It would definitely help me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm working with a girl in Chicago that I've worked with for probably a decade or two,
Hmm.
who's paralegal by trade, but she's an incredible musician. And this girl writes songs. Her name's Lisa G.
Hmm.
And this girl, when she contacted me, we were friends from a long time ago when I was like out in California, and I actually played with a friend of hers she went to school with when they were in Chicago. So she hit me up and asked me if I would help her learn how to do recording and get these songs under control and play guitar. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to. Let me hear it first. Make sure I'm the guy that you want, because I mean, I'm not the guy for probably everything." So she ended up having over 200 or 300 songs. I mean,
What?
that yeah, really good stories, good hooks. I mean, and every one of them wasn't a hit, obviously,
That's a lot
like
of songs.
everything we all write, but that's a lot of songs. So I said,
That's like,
yeah.
what is she, like 105 years old? Who has 200,
No,
300
no, this
songs?
girl, when I met her, she was in her 30s,
I'm
30s or
joking. It's a
40s.
lot of
She
songs.
she continually she had always been classically trained pianist and just loved music, and started, doing the thing that we do, loving music in a way that is just like above and beyond what the normal listener is,
Which is why you're still playing music and I'm doing the show. It's not about money, so it's not, I don't make money from this. It's a personal, it's a passion project, is what music is, and everything else, the trappings around it, are part of your life.
That's right. That's right. You just deal with it and you look forward to this. But she got to a point. We put out a few records, and she decided she needed another mentor, and she went to Kenny Aronoff,
Oh yeah,
who was like an A-list drummer on the
he's
West
a
Coast.
hard hitter too. Still,
Oh
he's like a
God,
machine gun. He's like his
yes.
drumming is so like solid and heavy though. You know what I'm saying? Like even to this day, it's like it's heavy. It's like heavy rock. It's just like it's not a sound, but it
That's
is just
not
so
the guy.
heavy.
Now that's not the guy you hire for a background music gig.
No, he is a lead performer. He is part of, you
Yeah,
know.
he's been with all the notables, so he's been helping her. And then she recently hooked up with Carmine Appice
Mhm.
from Rod Stewart,
Yeah,
Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, who's great. I mean, I've
not
worn out.
shabby drummer either. The good guy.
It's like I've worn out his records and followed his career. So, she asked me, "Would you mind working with him? On these? We're gonna do an EP." I'm like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And I had
You're like,
met him
really? You're
because
like Vanilla Fudge and Rod Stewart. You're just starting the 70s. You're already like blowing my mind. You're just
yeah, so yeah, it was in the 70s. And so we've been working together, and we're kind of finishing the last song um, for the EP now. It was good working with him. He's a great guy, very talented,
yep.
good intuition, great gut.
Heard
He's
a lot
one
of
of
good things about him just through the grapevine too, like offline interviews, like people talking. Like he's just a good guy all the time, not just TV guy. He's
yeah,
a good guy,
yeah.
you
No,
know.
he tries to keep level headed and see the good in anything if he can.
Where can people check that out too? Will that be also when it goes out? Will you like announce on your website because you're working on it also?
I don't think it's on my website yet, but if you go to Lisa G,
Hmm.
and just I don't know if it's under band or music or artist. She's on Deco Records or Decca. I think
Decca is
she
like the bluesy-ish label there, right?
yes, it's a
Blues,
lot.
soul, I think classical. I could be totally wrong. I'm sure the internet will correct me. And if I'm
No, I
wrong,
I'm
internet,
not.
keep it to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's it. You can find her there, and she's
Okay.
she's got a million great videos. She does all the Lips Turn Blue videos.
Oh, nice.
Anything I'm involved with. She's even done a couple of the more country things that I've produced and played on. And she did a video for us, a couple videos.
Wow. So, and
Yeah.
you had mentioned one other thing too, actually. I'm sure there's more. You mentioned someone, Chicago? Or no, we're working with Chicago. Chicago. She's from Chicago. Let me,
She's
from Chicago. How can people, I assume that they can work with you too, like hire you out, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely
What services you offering? You recording, playing on tracks, teaching some guitar. I mean, you've got a lot of skills in your quiver.
pretty much whatever they need, and depending on how advanced they are, I mean, I'd have to make a judgment call, because I'm not Ying V or Joe Satriani. Obviously, I have a certain style. I'm great at what I do, but I have maybe a dozen students, a few of them online,
Mhm.
and I mean, I've tutored people in everything from audio engineering, when they want to set up a studio at home and they don't want to take an online course from a guy on a YouTube video, they'll
Right.
hit me up and do a month or two worth of okay, how do we do this? What software package do I need or whatever? And as far as putting guitar tracks down, I love doing that. If it's something that I can get a good vibe on and
Mhm.
someone needs a really solid guitar track that's, anything other than hardcore fusion jazz, that's I can pretty much cover it usually with my style. If they hear what I've done prior to this, they can usually tell if it's
Right.
something they like. I've got enough recordings, that's for sure.
Yep. That's cool. I might be wrong. Correct me if I don't know this. Do you have like a Patreon or anything that way people can?
I do. I
Okay,
actually do. I just started one. I've been trying to get it out there, but like
let's
everything
get it out. Let's talk about it because
the
the
internet
gateway
gets
was lips turn blue, but then the more I got into it, I started learning more about you. So this is fantastic, and you really are, a core songwriter about this. So you offer a lot.
thank you. Thank you. I've worked hard.
It shows in your talent, your playing, and your demeanor. So your Patreon, is it up? Is it you working on it? What's the goal?
It's pretty much up there. It's in a simplified form where I'm just offering like anything from $5 a month, where it's a song from my library or whatever they want to pick for
Hmm.
free, t-shirts to one-on-one chats, or I can play and do some solo acoustic stuff for them, and or tutor them in guitar, tutor them in audio, or
Yeah,
just offer them new music. I have a lot of music in the can that needs to be finished, like all of us musicians,
right.
and it would give me a kick in the butt to actually say, hey, I owe these people a new song this month. I'm going to sit down and finish it.
But here's the thing: I think with the Patreon is, I think Patreon is great for artists because it allows you to connect, and you don't need a million. You don't need to hit 1,000 people. Let's say like whatever 15,000 like the label and sell to this weird audience. You have 1,000 fans that come back once a year and spend X amount of money. You'll make more money, and you know this by making your own music. So there's a
Yep.
way of doing this. You know what I mean? There's a website that's like that, that's set up just like that too. So, but people can go to you. What I think is really great is you've got a lot of music skills and the kind demeanor where you can say, look, talk about songwriting, talk about production. Like there's a lot of different pieces, and early in the industry, you had the banks, I mean record labels, telling you what to do. And then you had the sales guy that were looking at numbers. And then you had the producer that said, I want this sound. I don't care what these guys say. And you had like 15 different people with different
Yeah.
plans. And then you were a young band saying, I just want to play. I want to be a rock star. You
Yeah.
have all this experience to know that, to check them all off and say, these guys weren't working together. That's why a lot of bands failed, first off, because
Right.
nobody worked together as a team. You have the experience to say, this is a kind of a sound. And this, if you're going for the sound, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to act and behave. And this is how you write a song. You know what I mean? You can kind of
Yeah.
put a full picture together to a young band.
Yeah.
That's high value.
Yeah, it is. I think it is. That's why I've been kind of surprised. I haven't had anyone even looking at it. I mean, my email list is probably like 2 or 3 thousand deep, but I think a lot of that stuff gets lost in the internet. It's like someone told me that the other day. I said I can't figure out why this lips turn blue thing hasn't just like surfaced somewhere to be like really
Mhm.
recognized, big numbers. And they told me, well, I read today that on Spotify, 60,000 songs were uploaded.
Yeah.
And I was like, 60,000 songs. It's like people are just inundated by,
There's so much media, and it's when I started this, everyone's at home. I wanted the bands, and I wanted to take bigger bands, small bands, different types of music, and make this like ecosystem where you're like, I like that big band. You come in, next, your feed is like this smaller band. You're like, I don't know, Mr. Big. I have Mr. Big on, and then you're like, oh, next week all of a sudden, you fall into Lips Turn Blue. I haven't heard of them. What's going on? Like old time. Remember, like you used to watch your TV shows, and you're like, I don't like that actor or that musician, but every week they have a dossier on that person, and you listen to, you're like, wow, maybe I still don't like them, but I really like that person. Like I want to be able to introduce them into this little system. But the problem is, as I started doing this, the amount of music that I got inundated as a small channel, and I was even way smaller. Now I've gotten bigger because I have a podcast, and like this way bigger than the YouTube channel itself because the podcast is a lot bigger. but the amount of music that just comes in, I have to file through it myself. I had it to, I selected you guys because of what I like. And I don't turn people away because I think I have better knowledge. I just, whatever I can get behind and what
Right.
I see.
It's like anything in music. You're a musician. If you can't make it believable
Right.
and go in front of people and actually
I've
sell
told
it
people, yeah.
of your as your being, then it's not going to work.
I tell people, I said, your music's great, but I'm not, say, a certain type of country music. I'm not that guy. Maybe
Right.
it was outlaw country music or something different. Like this certain music, I'm like, you're great. I couldn't do you justice. I would be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry because they never take anything. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, I
No
have a
one.
weak spot for like rock, with this classic rock to progressive rock. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely my wheelhouse. Um, and when I get an artist like you on, all these different skills you offer, it's important to talk about this. And hopefully younger bands in my audience, or people starting out, younger musicians, even
Yeah.
if you're not in a band, I'm telling people you see these YouTube or Instagram, and people have 15,000 followers and they have these crazy numbers and they're playing guitar. It's great, but take time and go to someone like you and talk to a human. I mean, you can still use a Zoom, it's fine. And you can really learn instead of just watching and taking a program where you put your hand in the right spot. Do you roll your finger? Do you do that for your guitar? I'm talking guitar. The simple little things. And you can have a program and PDFs, and we've all fallen for that. And then it's just nothing. You have someone you can talk to and you can work with, and then it can go towards, well, if I play the guitar, what about recording? Am I looking at this sound? And you can kind of plan out 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to do for them. I became an infomercial for you. QVC here. No. but I'm saying, but that's what I think people need to know about an artist like you.
Yeah. There's a lot you can learn. I mean, I've done it myself. When I see artists that have been there and back in a way that I haven't been, I mean, I'm not afraid to go to them and say, "Can you give me some advice?
Yeah.
Can you kind of give me some direction?" And 9 out of 10 times they can help.
And aren't the industry artists that are always the ones that are like the bigger and the best, the legendary, are always the nicest?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Time and time again, this show I've met, and they say, don't meet your legends. I'm like, your favorite fans. I'm like, are you kidding me? I got
Yeah.
them on my phone. I can call them.
Oh yeah.
They are
No.
salt of the earth. There is a reason why they are still here today.
Yeah, that's right. And
Um,
here tomorrow.
yep. So people, Don's got a lot of stuff for you. You gotta check them out. We've really uncovered a lot of stuff today, right?
Yeah.
Didn't I didn't expect it to go this way, but there's a lot. First off, check out Lips Are Blue, the original album with Phil, and then get excited because there's gonna be more stuff coming in. You know,
Yep.
um,
And you can start looking back at my catalog
yeah,
and things I've been involved with I mean the Lou Graham Christian rock and my solo stuff, any of that. And
Christian rock. Interesting. How is that doing Christian rock? I mean, it's hard because then
it actually, I mean, Lou kind of shied away from it, and it was based on the fact that he was such a big artist that most of the people around him looked at that and said, "Oh, there's no money in that,"
right.
It's
Well, it's a hard industry, and I'm not going to talk about, say, Christian or this. I'm not going to go there.
right.
It's not for me. But what I'm saying is, like, we're talking
Mu-
musically, and
yeah,
you look at a band like, all right, Big Striper,
right.
probably one of the bigger or biggest Christian rock bands, right?
Oh yeah,
Arguably, you could say Creed was, but we don't really know. No one's really admitted to it, really.
yeah.
But that being said, what's the thing? What do you hear Michael Spiegel say? Like so he got it from the rock critics. They were getting it, the jokes and the beat up. I mean, our Christian band. I mean, they broke through higher than anybody. But then a
Yeah.
lot of the Christian audience and a lot of the Christian people were against them because they were too rock and roll. So literally, when you're a Christian band or say like any kind of religious band, unless you're totally following everybody's rules in that tenet of that religion, you are even in a harder frying pan.
Oh, it is, but it's that way, and I think it's that way in every genre of music because you cannot please 100% of the
Right.
crowd all of the
It's
time.
easier to be the bad boys of rock because then you get the perfect. At one
I
point,
mean,
when you could be the Stones or Guns N' Roses when it was a good
right.
time for that, and you could
Yeah,
go anywhere, and everyone's like, "Well, yeah,
exactly.
but they're the bad boys of rock."
Yeah, no press is bad press.
Right. You know, but to that, that point, I mean, I think the experience you've had is gonna play over. So people, check them out. Go to the website. You're gonna hit me up with all these other links if you can. All right. The Lisa and like everyone you've worked with, all your stuff you can come up with, the address of the liquor store they have to meet you behind to get the other phone number of the
Right.
thing to
Do I
connect. Yeah.
have, I don't know if I have your email. Do I?
Yeah, I'll send it to you after. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll invite this up. So I want to thank you for being on the show, though. I want to thank you, man.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. I can't believe I actually spoke to someone that listened to it that carefully and had a lot to say about the
I have a
song.
lot of
Writing.
opinions. I could probably go way deep, but because people haven't listened to it,
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm not gonna yarn on. I listen to music, so it's great. People check it out. And thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you very much.